Hi, Dr. Alina Kolchitsky, Boutique Bodyworks, physical therapist, lifestyle medicine, nutrition, and fitness. Today I'm talking about plant-based diet. What does that mean and why do we want to do it? Well, first of all, plant-based means what it implies. It's mostly plants, but it doesn't mean only plants. So it doesn't imply or define itself as meaning vegan and that no animal products at all. So people get afraid when they hear plant-based or plant-forward, thinking that, oh my God, I can't eat the foods I'm used to and enjoy. It doesn't mean that. It just means that most of your plate is going to be composed of plants. What kind of plants? Well, we want them to be whole foods, meaning they're minimally processed and as least refined as possible. And they include vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and nuts and seeds. So all of those are plants. So it's not just vegetables. So you're not eating like a rabbit, only leafy greens, as some people seem to think. So rest assured, you have a very robust diet. And for people who aren't used to eating mostly plants, they may not understand how wonderful and inclusive that could be. So honestly, it means you're eating a lot more different kinds of foods and variety than if you were eating the standard American diet or the SAD diet, which is mostly animal products and refined carbohydrate. What is refined carbohydrate? Well, that's processed grains, mostly wheat or rice, often in the form of pastas, breads, ready-to-eat cereals, desserts, snack foods, and so on. You get the idea. So basically what you buy in the grocery store in the center aisles and when you eat out. So the opposite of a plant-based diet is the American diet, which is, as I said, mostly animal products and refined carbohydrate. And it contains a lot of additives that are not natural and that our body doesn't know how to handle and that can be toxic or harmful to our bodies. What am I talking about? Sugar, just sugar refined, not as it naturally occurs in a plant. Um, so we're talking about simple sugars. Also sodium or salt. So some foods naturally contain some salts, yes, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about adding salt to foods in the form of like our processed ready-made foods or in restaurants where they're trying to increase that bliss factor so the flavor is enhanced. When we add that much sodium to our diet, it can lead to chronic disease in the form of not just hypertension or high blood pressure, and then the consequences of that, if left unchecked, which affect your vision, your brain, your vascular health, so your heart, all that, but also can trigger our physiological or metabolic processes where we now convert glucose in our blood to fructose. And fructose, we know from research that it will, if we consume too much of it, make us fat. Fructose is the best way to get fat, which is why high fructose corn syrup has been a problem in the last few decades. So animals in the animal kingdom and ourselves, before we were able to have foods readily made, gorging yourself on fruits was a good way to gain weight and prepare for winter. Well, we don't need to do that anymore. Food is abundant. So that ancient system of our body of converting fructose into storing it as energy in the form of fat continues. And so eating too much sugar or salt can also activate that system. So I digress. So what else? We don't want to eat cholesterol or saturated fat or trans fat. So trans fat is artificial. It's by hydrogenating bonds in the fatty chain that solidify liquid fats into solids, and it's used in baked goods and so on. It has become restricted or prohibited because of the heart health and the damage it does to our bodies. However, saturated fats continue. They predominantly come from animal fats, so animal products, although there are the tropical oils which also provide saturated fat, like coconut oil and palm oil, both which are being used more frequently in baked goods or processed grained products. So those are fats that we want to avoid because of the effects of leading to increased risk of heart disease and the consequences of heart disease, which can progress to be beyond just cardiovascular health, but also brain health with microvascular disease. So again, all of these things are connected, and one can lead to another or create multiple problems downstream. So we want to prevent getting into those disease states because prevention is much easier than curing, reversing, or treating, managing. So again, the saturated fats and cholesterol are best reduced by reducing our consumption of animal products. Also, our sad American diet is deficient in many micronutrients. What are micronutrients? Vitamins and minerals, which we need not only for our physiological basic functions to be catalysts for enzyme reactions in metabolism, but also for preventing disease and reversing disease. So for example, also in plants, we get a lot of phytonutrient or antioxidants. Those are so important to reduce oxidative stress and to help, what's the other thing? Oxidative stress, and basically help us prevent disease by reducing inflammation in the body. So with plants come all of those wonderful extra things that don't come in a bottle of vitamins or supplements, because those are isolated ingredients created in a lab. But those wonderful extra things that come in plants with the vitamins and nutrients, and that give those vitamins and nutrients their magical powers in our body, because we absorb them better when in conjunction with those phytonutrients. We now not only absorb and use those vitamins and minerals better, but we also reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in our body. So fiber is really important in our diet, and the average American does not get the recommended 30 grams a day, pitifully not even half. So that's because of highly processed foods. The fiber has been removed. Fiber not only helps to keep you full so that you eat less, but it also feeds the good bacteria in your gut. Now, different kinds of fibers will like to be munched upon by or preferred by certain good bacteria. So to have a nice, robust microbiome or diverse microbiome means eating different colors of plants. So you're getting different kinds of fiber to feed all those different types of good microbes or bacteria in your gut. And so that happens in the colon, where the fiber, continues to pass through your digestive system and then to the colon and then eventually eliminated. So for immune system and improved immunity, you want to eat the rainbow, a variety of color of plants. That doesn't come from processed foods. So, because processing removes the fiber. Fiber also helps for elimination, and so one of our primary ways of eliminating our toxins and waste is through our bowels. So if we don't eat enough fiber and eliminate well, then we end up, backing up, getting constipated. That can lead to colon cancer over time. It can also cause things like diverticulosis or diverticulitis, and other problems as well in the bowel and gut. So there's so many reasons why we need fiber, and that only comes from whole foods and from plants. Eating fiber from a bottle as a supplement is not the same positive effects as eating fiber from real foods. The other food group I forgot to mention, which is really important, is legumes. So your beans, lentils, that kind of stuff. So plant-based is desirable because it's nutrient dense. We get fiber, we get vitamins and minerals, we get phytonutrients, we get flavonoids. All of these things help to prevent cancer, to prevent other diseases, prevent oxidative stress, and reduce inflammation in the body, and to give us a robust microbiome or community of good bacteria so that bad bacteria don't proliferate. They're balanced out or dominated by the good bacteria. The best way to grow your bad bacteria would be to eat sugar or simple sugars in the form of refined carbohydrate and alcohols, and to not eat plants in their whole form. So, why do we want to eat plant-based? Optimize your health, prevent chronic disease. If you're already there with disease, diabetes, heart disease, or what have you, it's not too late to manage it or possibly even reverse it by eating a whole food plant-based diet. So you want to think of your foods as packages. What comes in that package? When you choose vegetables or legumes or nuts and seeds or fruits or all of the above together, you are getting, all kinds of nutrients and fiber. You're getting your macronutrients too. Depending which type of plant you choose is going to be more predominantly complex carbohydrates or more predominantly protein from your nuts, seeds, and legumes. Vegetables can have protein too. They all have some, or some minimal like lettuce, but some lots like mushrooms or peas. So you want to think about those things when you're choosing your food so that you have a balanced diet. But when you're choosing animal products and refined carbohydrate, all you're getting is calories without a lot of nutrients, protein, and fats, and not your healthy fats. Healthy fats come in the form of mono and polyunsaturated fats. Your best source would be cold processed extra virgin olive oil. Other fats that are healthy are your nuts and seeds and avocados. Otherwise, your other oils or animal fats carry a lot of saturated fat, and the seed oils, because they're under high heat, processed to extract the oil from the seed, can cause inflammation in the body. So I recommend limiting or even avoiding the seed oils and sticking just to extra virgin olive oil, avocados, and nuts and seeds. So again, if you're choosing processed foods, you're eliminating the fiber, you're eliminating the micronutrients you need for your bodily functions, you're putting yourself at increased risk for diseases because of those factors, as well as not being nutrient dense, also because of all the additives. Companies spend a lot of money to try to increase the bliss factor of their foods, meaning it's going to stimulate the pleasure centers of your brain more than you would with your average food, so that you want it more. It's kind of like a vicious cycle, like with any addiction and dopamine, response, where you get such a large stimulus that then afterwards you feel deprived and you want more. That's what food companies are trying to do to us. Restaurants too. So the more you eat packaged foods and eat out, the more you crave those foods, and the less satisfied you feel with real foods. So it can be a bit of a process to get away from the standard American diet to a whole food plant-based diet. But if you stick with it, the reverse will happen, where those foods, the healthy whole food plant-based approach, you crave and feel good with and feel satisfied with and taste delicious, versus when you eat those processed foods and restaurant foods where they start to taste not that great, because all you taste is the salt or sugar, and you feel not so good afterwards because it's unhealthy fats that make you feel heavy and nauseous, or there's other chemicals in there, additives that help to stabilize the product and make it creamy or give that mouthfeel or accentuate the flavor artificially. And those chemicals, our bodies, they're not natural. They don't know how to handle that, and they don't make us feel good either. And they make you feel sluggish and tired and brain foggy and so on. So these are all reasons we could dive into any one of those things I've mentioned even more, and go down the rabbit hole of how that causes disease and why it's unhealthy for us and why the reverse is true. But basically the take-home message is the more natural the food, the more healthy it is for you, and the more processed a food, the less healthy, in fact, opposite, causing potentially harm to your body and disease over time. Here and there, once in a while is not going to do that to you, but eating it every day, every meal, day after day, year after year, leads to our modern day diseases that we didn't used to suffer from, especially at this extent, like diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, Alzheimer's and dementia, autoimmune diseases, cancer, vascular disease, and more, fatty liver disease. So things to think about, food for thought. Look at my other videos for ideas of really simple, easy, and not expensive plant-based meals. And think about your plate as being, mostly plants. So especially high fiber, lower carbohydrate type plants. So mostly vegetables, a smattering of whole grains, your protein of choice, but try to minimize how often and how much of your protein comes from an animal. And remember that your protein is also intake in part from the plants that you're eating, particularly when you're eating a whole food plant-based diet. There's proteins in your whole grains, there's proteins in your vegetables, in your legumes, and nuts and seeds. So all those things added together in a meal add for like plenty of protein in your diet, and you will not be missing anything. So you choose a healthy fat to cook with to help you absorb all those wonderful nutrients, and you're good to go. And so look at my next video on how to eat more plant-based, looking at your plate and some ideas, as well as my food demos. Thank you so much. Bye for now.